Hey now. Um, just got back from a little walk. Um, was thinking about what I want to do for a gear video. Um, I already started putting stuff away and throwing stuff out, and then I was like, oh shit, I was supposed to do a gear video. I know a lot of people were looking forward to that, and I said I was going to do one, so I'm going to do one. It's got to be a little bit more unconventional though. Um, the stuff I did throw away, it's not going to matter anyway. But let me get things sorted out here, and then we'll get started. All right, let's start with backpacks. The one I started with and the one I finished with was this Osprey Atmos 65. Has the brain on the top. It's the heaviest pack I got, but it carries the weight the best. I do have holes in it from going through the Mahoosic Notch and dragging it on some rocks, spots that you can't walk down, you had to slide down. But I also had this Hilltops pack. I think this is the Raven. Let me get the better light on. It's a Raven. I think it's the 55 liter. Super light, super thin. Loved it. Now this will hug your back. So the only problem with that is your back will really sweat, and mine broke out and got really itchy, and I was having some issues with that. Let me shut this garage door. That lighting is going to be jacked up. Going to visit my buddy later, and wanted to get this knocked out before I did that. He's having some health issues, and I haven't seen him since I've been on trail, and definitely want to keep in touch with him. He's a good bud. But anyway, enough of that. But love this pack, but just the short time. I think I had this when I went from PA to Connecticut, and I started developing holes in it just from normal wear and tear. So I figured this thing is not gonna last that long. So I don't know, maybe I'm just crying wolf. Maybe the one pocket is, the outside pockets are a little bit maybe thinner than the body, but it doesn't seem like it. But I started getting some holes on the bottom of it just from we went through some lemon squeezes and some other rocky areas, and I started getting little holes in there, and I was like, I don't want this thing falling apart when I'm, up in New Hampshire somewhere in the whites. This pack I got at Neil's Gap, ULA Catalyst. Love this pack. Nice pack. Little weighty. Like I said, it's ULA Catalyst. I don't know if you can see that, but got a little bit more weight. It's like in between. I'd say maybe 2.5 pounds, maybe a hair heavier, but love the pack. Now where the strap is sewn into the body, it started getting some separation, so I took some high strength nylon thread and sewed it up, and it never got any worse. Again, that bag will hug to your back, whereas the Osprey kind of sits off your back a little bit, and you get that airflow through there. But those two bags are not meant to carry a lot of weight, and I was carrying more weight than I should have, so that didn't help matters. The Dyneema one didn't have it has a waist belt, but there's no structure to it, so it doesn't really relieve the weight off your shoulders, whereas the ULA and the Osprey will give you some relief with that waist belt. With that being said, I'm just going to go through what I had in the pockets. On the waist pockets, on one side I would keep all my snacks. On the other side I would keep all my my headlamp, my buff, my head net for bugs, some miscellaneous cordage, and some pen and paper that I would keep in a plastic bag just in case I needed it for something. Um, in the outside pockets, I always carry my GPS and my phone on the left side, and then I had my bandana and my water on the right side. Um, on the outside pockets of my pack, I would keep my toilet paper, because you never want to be looking for that when you really need it. There was a couple times I thought I was going to be a thru hiker. They say you're not a thru hiker till you shit your pants. I thought I was going to be a thru hiker before I finished. But anyway, long story short, you want that handy. Plus, if other people need it, or to wipe the lens off, because there was times everything I had inside and out my pack were soaking wet, and there was no way I could clear the lens off of my camera. But anyway, I would keep all my meds, pills, creams, all that kind of stuff I would keep on the outside, and Ziploc baggies inside my outside pocket of the one side of my Osprey, and the other side I had my Thermacell and the heck else did I have? Oh, my rain gear, my top, my bottoms. I had that in there, and then in the main body I carried two contractor bags. I always had the main one that I would put all my clothes and quilts in, and then seal that. And then if it would rain, or they were calling for rain, I would put another one on top of that and put my food bag, my fanny pack if I didn't want to carry it on my waist, my cook kit, and any other miscellaneous stuff, my batteries, stuff like that I was going to use throughout the day, and I didn't want it to get wet. But if it wasn't raining, I would just fold up the contractor bag and compactor bag, and then just keep it in my pack. I did start off with a hammock. Didn't hammock as much as I thought I would. When you want to make time and you want to really keep moving, it's so much more efficient to set up in a shelter. You so much quicker set up and tear down, but the hammock is much more comfortable. Now, I did help matters. I carried a Thermarest Neo Air X Lite, just a standard, and I liked it, but it was really too narrow. I would like to get something a little wider next time. I did carry an umbrella, and I had it set up where you could put it on your shoulder straps, and it would cover you and your bag, and it gave you a whole surface that would keep you pretty much dry. The downside of that is the rain coming off your umbrella will hit your backpack, and then it will come down the back and then hit your backside at the top of your butt, and then totally drench you. So if it would rain really hard, I'd put a rain skirt on, and that helped a lot. Even if you had a poncho, I think that would help too. I did that route. There's so many things. When I did my first gear video, compared to what I ended with, are other than some clothes, I really changed a lot of stuff up. The one thing people get hung up on is gear, and there's no need to get hung up on it. Take what you need, not what you think you might need, and work with what you got as much as you can. And if you can't make it work, then you can start adding things in. I had so much stuff, and it was just, there's a reason why I was carrying almost 50 pounds the whole way. Towards the end, I think the one time I was down to the upper 30s, but then I went, and my biggest problem the whole trip was my food bag. I carried way too much food. When we summited and I switched back to my regular pack, we got back home, and I looked at I had 4 days of food left, and I could have stretched it to 4 days, and there's just no need to carry that much food. But you'll go to a store and you just want to get a small amount, and you got to buy an X amount. You can't just buy small amounts, so we would split it amongst us, and then sometimes that won't even work. So I was one that I don't throw stuff away unless I really don't need it. And I figured, especially when we get to a spot where if .7 didn't have enough food, I said, don't worry, I got some if we need it. But Looking back at it, I think there was a lot of times I could have just put stuff in hiker boxes, and I did. There's many times I left food for other hikers, but it didn't. It took me till the very end to really realize that less is definitely better. The lighter, the better. I have no problems carrying weight, and I'd do it again, but it just makes it so much easier, more pleasant to be lighter. So anyway, have a hammock, not hammock gear, Dutch wear, hammock, underquilt protector, cover, yeah, underquilt protector. Just a real piece of thin nylon that goes on the outside of your underquilt. As far as underquilt, I had a 20-degree hammock gear, and I swapped that out for a 40-degree, I think it was called Hang Tight, off of Etsy. Same with my top quilt. I had I think it was a Burrow. It's their, just their normal standard foot box top quilt, 20-degree, and then I swapped that out for 40-degree Hang Tight. Always carried an inflatable sit pad. I would only use this pretty much for in my hammock if I would get any calf ridge, or if I was sitting around a camp and needed a seat, but I rarely used it for that. This is my tarp. It's a Xeon bonded 12-foot with doors winter tarp from Dutch Wear. The tarp, the hammock, the underquilt, and the sit pad, you put all that together, you're pushing 5.5, close to 6 pounds. So it is, the way I had my setup, it was heavier than a tent. You can get lighter. I don't know if I would do that again. I might go with the tent next time just for convenience and weight. You never have a problem finding trees. Flat spots for tents can be an issue, but like I said, once you have done the trail, you know the spots, and you can look on far out, and that really is a good help as far as where things are and where you can tent. Hammock gear, Pro Cicadia with the zip-on winter cover when it was cold, and then I put the zip-on screen when it got warm. I just have the Spider Polycro, I think it is, the straps, 15 foot for each end. I have continuous loops on my hammock, and then I just have the hooks on the end of the straps, and they just hook right on. As far as water, I always carried either a 700 milliliter or a 1 liter bottle in my pouch. And then I would also have a 2-liter Sea-Knock. I have it drying right there. I just put a bunch of chlorine in there and cleaned it out. And then I carried an Nalgene bottle, but sent that home and opted out for this. It's a little, it's like a 700. Is it 700? I can't make that out, but it's close to a liter collapsible bag from REI, and I really liked it. Hydro Pack, it's called. Worked great the last month that I used it, and then I sent my Nalgene home. But in the winter, I think Nalgene's better because you could warm up hot water and put it in there, and I know Point 7 did that a lot, and even R2 there went and got one and used it for that. Before we get into clothes, just want to see, had a rain cover, didn't work. Just makes things worse. Just deal with being wet. Like I said, I had so much stuff that didn't work, but I only want to show you guys what did work. That way you're not wasting your time. I did start off with, well, let me not go into clothes for that. Well, this is part of the hammock sleep system, but I started out, I have a real nice alpaca liner and loved it. And I've used this for half the trip, and it smells great. Alpaca wool does not hold the smell, and loved it, but it got real warm. So then I went to I think it's called a reactor, Thermarest reactor. It's one of their, yeah, Thermarest reactor, and that worked really good. A lot thinner, a lot cooler. Um, that's pretty much it for the hammock and sleep system. But like I said, towards the end, like the last month, I guess I would say, I sent my hammock and tarp home trying to lose weight, and I would either cowboy camp or stay in a shelter. And you can pretty much do that the whole trail. And that's something I'm gonna seriously consider next time. Um, Maybe just have a little tarp just in case you get stranded out somewhere. But you can go super lightweight with the hammock, but then again, you know, you're getting thinner fabric, so you're more prone to rips and tears. You can get better tarps. You can go Dyneema, but you start adding all those things together, and it's just as light, but you are using a lot of room up. Like Point 7 had a her what was it, a Gossamer Gear 110, was probably not even as big as this right here, this little my hammock, and I think it was less than a pound or right around a pound, and that thing just went up so quick. And that looked like something that I want to. A couple times I watched her do it, and you know, you got plus and minuses of both. I definitely sleep better in a hammock. A tent is not that bad though, and like I said, you watch the Far Out, and you can pretty much find out where you can camp and where you can't. So let me just go through this bin right here. This is kind of the stuff that I kept that worked, that I'm keeping for future hikes. My cook kit. I just have I think it's a 950 pot, that fuel canister, BRS, super small and lightweight stove, worked great. Never had a problem with it. My fuel canister, the stove, and a lighter. That's all I carry in here. I had a bunch of other stuff in there, like a can opener and a scrub brush and a bandana. That's all you need. And then this cover, I didn't even have a cover. I found this in a hiker box, but it fit my pot. And what I'll do is I'll put my plastic bag inside of this cover and put all my food in there that I'm gonna eat, and then heat up my water, and then just pour this into the plastic bag, let it sit in there, and then that way you can handle the plastic bag without burning the ever-living hell out of your hands. This is an Nalgene bottle that I started out with, sent back. This is a Enlightened Equipment, I think it's called the Cooper shirt and pants. They're waterproof treated, but they're not waterproof. They're more like a windbreaker type thing. So I thought I would just keep this. They're super lightweight, and just put this over what I was wearing if I would get cold, because I do not like to be hot. I would rather freeze, and colder the better. So I didn't take a whole lot of warm gear. In fact, I think I wore my puffy maybe a handful of times, but I just didn't want to get rid of it, because everybody said, you know, as soon as you do, it's going to get cold or whatnot, and you know, if emergency arose and you got a hypothermia situation, I better keep it just to be safe. So Neo Air X-Lite Thermarest, went over the reactor liner, carried a little bag. Once you get in the northern states, you go grocery shopping, they don't have bags for you for your food and your stuff that you get at the grocery store, so you have to have a little bag, and they'll be glad to sell you a bag, but I always carried a little collapsible bag. It's next to nothing. You can use it for multiple things. I did have Amazon inflatable pillow I used. That went flat. I had a Sea to Summit pillow I found, used that for a while. That went flat. And then the last 2 weeks I was just constantly getting up in the middle of the night to blow it up. But Point 7 and others I've seen have taken these bags and put their clothes in it and used that for a pillow. So lesson learned. That's what I'm going to do next time. Always got to have the medicine kit. I don't know how that got in there. Um, Toilet paper, it's a must. Toothbrush. Now I had a bunch of stuff for toiletries too, not needed. Toothbrush, a flosser, chapstick, and toothpaste. All you need, all that work. Always carry till the very end 2 hand warmers. You never know, because if it does get cold, and I didn't carry a lot of warm gear, you could use that in a pinch. We did get these little collapsible backpacks. I don't know if I'll take just this or both, but these are good for slack packing because they're so small and they hold up to like 10 or 15 pounds, and you can use this for slack packing, you can use this for grocery shopping, you can use this as a pillow. So I'll probably just end up taking that so I'm not carrying 2 things, although that other bag's super light. Gloves, I took a pair of wool liners, and I had a pair of REI rain mitts over top of that. That's what I used to keep my hands warm. Tyvek, always had a Tyvek sheet to put down to put my mattress on. One of these little Z seats, I use this when I use my Dyneema backpack. Let me shut this radio off. It's starting to get on my nerves, all the static. I had music playing, but it was hooked up to my phone. And then as soon as I start using video, it turns the radio off, so it's kind of pointless. But anyway, this went on the back side of my backpack that goes up against your back to give you some kind of cushion between the Dyneema and your back, because like I said, it hugs your back. So and then you can use it for a seat, whatever. And I'll probably use that Dyneema pack next time. Not carry as much weight, and if it doesn't work out, I might have to look into, I don't know, like a light AF or maybe a Z packs. I don't know. I've had a lot of friends that didn't make out too good with their Z packs, but anyway, either way, I think this would go the next time. I did carry this for a while, just a little envelope that you get in the mail from Amazon. It's kind of padded, folded up, super light. This made a good seat if you want to put it on a log, put it on a rock, just to keep your butt from getting super wet. Carried that for a while, and worked pretty good. I have a Marmot, I think it's called the Minimalist jacket. Worked great. Sent it home. Tried ponchos, tried other jackets, and it just didn't work. Got this back. It's heavier, but it worked great. Looking back at it, probably would just go with a frog tog, because I did find a frog tog, and that did work pretty good. And most of the time, you're sweating so bad, and you're going to get wet anyway. So just deal with getting wet. That's the best. That's the best thing. You know, you get to camp and you're soaking wet, even if you're cold. Just take all your clothes off, and then I would always have a spare shirt and shorts, and then I would sleep in that, keep that dry, and then the next morning you just got to bite the bullet and put all your wet stuff back on, and go from there. 6 Moons umbrella worked great. I put that thing through the ringer, and was great. My Lucky poles, these are the Journey lights. The tips look like the day I bought them, and I use them. I got them in Virginia at Waynesboro. Just have some spare cordage, and then I have a little piece of Dyneema I use for like a foot pad, and not a foot pad, but like a little mat to put down for my hammock. And I also have written on, if I needed to go to town or the trail and we're hitchhiking, that helped out a lot. I'm gonna shut this down and start it back up here in a second. All right, back at it. I used Ultra Gators. Not a fan. I have Ultra shoes. I used the Olympus 4s. I went through 6 pair. I used all red except for, I think they were like a bluish pair, and that pair just wore out so quick. And the red pairs, I've heard some people say that the different colors wear better or worse or whatever. The clown shoes work good for me. I do have one other pair. They're black and white. I didn't get to those. I didn't know if I'd need 6 or 7 pair, but I love the Lone Peaks, but the Olympus were much more comfortable. But the Gators, squirrel, the Gators, they would always come undone. They would come up over the sides of the shoe, so I'd still get stuff in. So I wasn't real happy with them. So I went from Ultra, then I got a pair of REI ones where they were even worse. They worked great at the beginning, but they had a strap that went under your shoe, and that would catch the snow and sticks and stuff, and then that would snap, and you'd have to constantly be putting new shock cord on it, and it was just a pain in the ass. So I went back to the Ultras and wore them out. Went to go get a pair of Dirty Girls, and I couldn't find them anywhere, so I just got another pair of Ultra for now, but I won't be using them the next time. I'll probably use Dirty Girl. Everybody rants and raves how good they are. I never got a chance to try them because you got to order them, and you know, I couldn't find them in any of the outfitters. Hand sanitizer, that's a must for me. This stuff, Chicken Buttercup got us. We were using O'Keeffe's cream. It was called like Foot Rescue or something. It just comes in a little container. It looks like a hockey puck, and it's got a real light cream. We used that for the longest time, and then she got us this stuff, and this is the bomb. It's got pain relief, it soothes, hydrates, works great. So highly recommend this to take for your feet. You're gonna need something for your feet. Got to keep the tires in check. Let me see. I carry deodorant. For a long time I didn't, but then it got to a point where I couldn't stand myself. So then I started carrying deodorant again, and a lot of times I couldn't find the small one, so I just get the big one. And looking back at it, once I bought my Jolly shirt, I really didn't need it because the Jolly shirt didn't hold the smell like a normal wicking shirt would. But still, it was peace of mind for me. There was a couple times I couldn't stand myself, but once I got that Jolly shirt, that between that and just a little deodorant, worked great. I never had any problems. But it's definitely not necessary. It's just something that I wanted to take along. And I usually have the real small one, but like this here. But I couldn't find it, and then I had the big one. Dude wipes, carry that in case you can't get to a creek and clean off. Bug head net, absolute must. Although .7 bought one and never used it. I don't know why. They didn't bug her as bad as they bugged me, but man, they bugged the ever living hell out of it. Drove me nuts. Sun lotion, carried it, hardly ever used it. Cotton balls and Vaseline. I would carry this to start fires, and then use the Vaseline for chafing, or put on your feet to hydrate your feet. Sawyer squeeze, and then I fitted it up with a little gadget on the end so you didn't have any water coming out of there, and then I put a flip top from a Smart water bottle on the other end. Used it religiously for about a month, then sporadically used it, and then the majority of the time I didn't use it. I probably filtered maybe a quarter of the trail. Looking back at it, if you get your water from the right source, I mean, you're not guaranteed, but if you use common sense, get it out of a rock, you're up in elevation, you can pretty much don't have to filter your water. .7 didn't filter her water once. She boiled it a couple times when we were by lakes, but yeah, we argued about that for a little bit, but I saw, you know, she explained to me, and you know, we both agree, if you just careful where you get it from, nothing's guaranteed, but more than likely, if you're on top of a mountain and water's coming out of a rock, you're not going to have to filter it. Streams, you get taking a gamble anytime, really, but never had a problem. In fact, R2 didn't filter that much, and he actually got sick off of water that came out of a tap. So, you know, Do what makes you feel comfortable. I always carry one in case I get into a spot where I'm really thirsty, and you know, if I got to get it out of a mud puddle, I'm getting it out of a mud puddle. I'm gonna filter it and drink it. But I go through a lot of water. Point 0.7 would drink a bottle of water every 2 days. I drink about 3 bottles a day. But anyway, chicken tramper, water bottle holder, Hilltop Packs cell phone holder. I wouldn't recommend it. The Velcro came off of it and it never stayed closed. And it was open at the top. Every time I'd go to bend over to pick something up, phone came flying out. It's light and practical, but it just didn't work. I got some refills for the Thermocell that I was carrying along in the 100-mile wilderness, and along with the Thermocell, this is a game changer. It's lightweight, and wasn't really keen on carrying it, but our dear friends got it for us in New Hampshire, and for New Hampshire and Maine, and it was a game changer. MVP of the hike at the end. We would be at shelters or stop for lunches and turn that thing on, and there wasn't a bug around, and we're looking about 20 feet over at other hikers, and they're jumping around like they're getting eaten alive. It really, really works. Carry one little collapsible towel. 0.7 let me use one of hers one time, and worked out great, so I kept it for a while, and then they don't last forever, but you can use the same one for a long time. And then I picked up another one and then just never used it. I'd always use my buff or my bandana. What else? Always carried a little thing of Dr. Bronner's and a little chunk of soap in case I wanted to clean off near a stream. I would get a bag of water and then, you know, clean up, and would never get the stuff in the stream unless I was in a real big creek down where nobody was going to get water. For a while I did carry a couple mouse traps because they drew first blood, but I carried them for a while, sent them home, got them back again, sent them home again. The mice bothered us more in the beginning, and the only mice that we did hear, like from halfway to Katahdin, like from PA to Katahdin, we never had a problem with mice. We heard them, but they never were a problem. So, you know, again, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. I would get the bare minimum and try and make that work, and then if you absolutely have to, start adding stuff to your kit, because less is better. Always carried some KT tape and some Leuco tape. That's a must. I also carried some baby powder because I got chafing once at the very beginning pretty bad, and then once at the very end really bad. When it's just wet all stinking day and you're sweating and wet and you can't dry out, that's when it starts getting me. And I was trying the Body Glide and all kinds of stuff. Nothing was working. My daughter is now a RN nurse and told me just get simple baby powder, and it worked great. So there's that. I had some prescription foot cream for bacteria on my feet. I was having big pits, and that helped out with that. I got a little tube of antibiotic ointment for cuts and scrapes. Very rarely used it, but I did use it. And then I have this Dr. Bert's rescue ointment, and you can use that for just about anything. And like I said, it's real small. Get the smallest container that you can get. That'll work out for you. This is my just a little ditty bag. I have some shock cord, some paracord, extra screens, super glue, a tick key, some Velcro, some thread, needles, some extra caps, a couple zip ties, and that's about it. And some patch kits. That bag was a lot bigger until 0.7 did an intervention. and we took a lot of stuff out of there, and lo and behold, it worked good. So that is the meat and potatoes of that stuff. And if you guys have any questions, just shoot me up and I'll try to answer it as best I can. I went over the quilts, top quilt, under quilt, quilt protector, my tarp. Went through this stuff. Okay, now clothing wise, Enlightened equipment, puffy, can't beat it. Cannot be beat. Didn't wear it much, but can't be beat. Some of the clothes that I had. Okay, so I was carrying 3 pair of socks. Then I only went down to 2 pair, but darn tough. Stand by their socks. Had them swapped out a couple times. Can't be beat. They don't dry as fast as I thought they would, but darn tough socks. All I used. I did try the Injinji liners. Thought that they worked, but in the end, just straight socks. No liners. Sent them home. They didn't work. While we're on the subject of socks and shoes, whenever my feet would get totally wet, like I'm walking through creeks and rivers, when my feet would get super wet, the soles would start moving around in my shoes. So I would get to the point where if I'm climbing real steep hills up or down and my feet were totally soaked, that sole would move around in my shoe and it would get bunched up in the toe box. I'd have to stop, take my gaiters off, take my shoes off, redo it, put it all together. 10 minutes down the road, it happened again. Drove me insane. So I bought a pair of aftermarket Dr. Scholl's, like a sport insole. Fixed it. Didn't have that problem for a while, so I'd get another pair of shoes, and I never got another pair of Dr. Scholl. So 2 or 3 pair go through, didn't have that problem anymore. Fast forward to the last pair I had when we were going through all that rain in New Hampshire and Maine. Those soles bunched up so bad, so I did get another pair of aftermarket Dr. Scholl's. I think that's what it's called. They even moved around in my shoe. So I got so fed up with it. So for like the last 2 weeks of the trip, I didn't have any insole in my shoe. And it didn't bother me too bad unless we were doing road walks. But yeah, that was one thing that really kind of bummed me out, was the sole in the shoe kept moving around. So socks. Then for the legs, all I would carry is a pair of Under Armour base layer, stretchy, tight, kind of type leggings. And I carried them the whole time. That was the only thing I had for my legs. So if it would get super cold, I'd put those leggings on. And then if it was like brutal, I'd put that little that Cooper wind pants over top of that. Never had to do that, but I had it just in case we would get really cold weather. But I love cold weather. Always wear shorts. I did have a pair of rain pants that I had, never wore them, so I sent them home. As far as shorts, I had Patagonia shorts, and they had the liner in them. Thought they were like these great hiker shorts. They're swim shorts, but they work great. So I bought 2 pair. I bought an extra large to start with, and then once I lost a lot of weight, about halfway I swapped to the large. And very durable. They worked great. Didn't have to worry about underwear. For the longest time, I did have a pair of ex officio underwear I took along, but never used them, so I sent them home. They worked great. They're comfortable. They dry fast. Very durable. Sliding down rocks, and just, I would do it again. Definitely do it again. Let me see. Moving up to the upper layer, I started with a moisture wicking shirt. And right around Marion, that wasn't working, so I got a Jolly shirt, and that was the bomb. That thing is so comfortable, so functionable, dries fast, got the hood for the sun, just worked out great. Got 2 pockets in the chest, So I had the Jolly shirt. I messed around with a long sleeve sun shirt for a while, but I can't stand long sleeves, and it just made me feel a lot more, um, just a lot hotter during the day, and that's one of the reasons I got rid of my beard, the hair. I can't stand to be hot. Um, so I flirted around with that sun shirt, didn't work. So basically, I always wear just my Jolly shirt, and if it got cold, I'd either put on my rain jacket or I would put on my the next layer up, which I had a grid fleece Columbia, and it worked great. It was a little heavy, but then I got a North Face zip up hoodie, and that worked great, and I took that the rest of the way. I think I got that in Gatlinburg, but got a North Face layer to go over top of my shirt. And then the only other layer I had, if it would get cold, would be my rain jacket or my puffy. So I never had to use any of my base layers. I took base layer for sleeping, never used it. I don't think I ever used my base layer. And I had two pair. I had a really warm pair and one pair that wasn't as warm. If it got that cold, I'd put my leggings on, or I'd sleep with my hoodie. And if it got that cold, I think a couple times I might have slept with my puffy, but never needed my base layer. And then of course I had the liner too, so that helps a lot. It helps not only keep you warmer, but it keeps your bags from getting all hogged up from sweat and smell and stuff like that. So I did have base layers for a while, sent them home because I never used them. Even in the coldest weather, never used the base layers that I can remember. I do remember being cold a couple times, and I would just put that stuff on, but like I said, I like to sleep cold. So let me see. After the base layers, I have the puffy, went over the rain jacket. I do have an AT buff. Went through a couple hats because they got hogged up so bad. Bandana I always carried on my backpack strap, and then I was using one in my cook kit for the longest time too, just to keep everything from rattling around in there, and then use it like a napkin. And then the only other thing was I was carrying I had a stocking hat, just a skull cap. Had a nice alpaca one, sent it home, needed it again. Bought an orange one, so I figured I could use it for hunting too. Used it for a while, don't need this anymore, sent it home. Got cold again, so then I got an LL Bean stocking hat. And I said, I'm just taking this the whole way because, I should have just kept the first one. But other than that, let me just make sure that there isn't anything else. Oh, I know there was another layer when it was warmer or colder out. I had my Kui pullover, so I would put this over my shirt, or even sometimes under the shirt, and then put the t-shirt over this. But it's a real thin Peloton 97, very, very good Kui, love it. And then I did send it home, and I needed it again, so I went to Goodwill and got a real lightweight fleece sweatshirt until I sent that home. I did have a pair of alpaca thick socks that I would use when it was cold out to sleep in. I was going to take down booties, but those alpaca socks work great. And if they didn't, I'd just throw a hand warmer down in the foot box. I've done that several times. It worked out great. When it was super cold out, I also did have these, they're like a fleece windstopper mitten. These are actually zero restriction. I use these for golfing when I was golfing a lot, and wind does not go through these. Fantastic stuff. I went over the liner. Like I said, I started putting this stuff away and just getting rid of stuff that I didn't use. And I even had gloves because I was getting blisters on my hands. Got rid of them. from the hiking poles and just put Leuko tape on my hands if I was getting a blister. I even had an EpiPen and sent it home. Good thing I didn't get stung. That would kind of sucked. The only other thing I can think of is my food bag, and that was going to the house and get that. This is a Hilltop Packs. It's still got my food in it and everything. I didn't go over it, but it's the extra large one. I don't even know if they make them anymore. But my thinking with that was, you know, I could put my food, all my smellies, my stove, put everything in there when I did the bear hang. So it was nice to have something that was a little bit bigger, but then to my disadvantage is, more room, I could carry more food. Then before you know it's so heavy, it drove myself nuts the whole trail. That was my biggest nemesis, is carrying too much food. So I never once came into town and did not have food. So, you know, a lot of these people I was hiking with, and even Point 7 was really good with it, you know, show right up with just bare minimum, if any, food. And it worked great for them, but I just couldn't do it. Carrying extra food isn't bad, but carrying too much food is bad as far as weight-wise, and that's where I got into problems. Like right now, it's probably got about, I could push this to 4 days, and you don't want to get any heavier than that. And then I would add a bunch of stuff to that, and that's where I got in trouble. But we learned a lesson the hard way. So did carry a bucket hat for a while. Not necessary. I did have a Hilltop Packs fanny pack. This bag worked good because instead of like the phone case where you roll it up and Velcro it, this has a little buckle. Now that worked well. They should do that for their other case. And then the only other thing is electronics. I carried Nightcore. I think it was an NU25 headlamp. I had my phone. I had a Nightcore 20,000 milliamp battery. I had an Anchor 20,000 milliamp battery, and my GPS. Those are the only electronics I brought. That's about it, other than you know, like folded up reading glasses if you need them. As far as a knife, I just had a little neck knife that I took along. I'm a knife guy. I have a ton of knives. And I was going to take a great big, where is it here? Oh, here it is right here. I love this thing. I was going to bring this along. It's a Matt Graham primitive bush knife. This thing is a beast. You can cut down trees with this. You can cut food up with it. I mean, it's just, I don't go in the woods without a knife. And that thing is really, really nice. But it's also just over a pound. So I had a hard enough time trying to justify that. So I left it home, and I'm glad I did, because it's really not necessary out there. There's a couple times I could have used it, but not necessary. I started out with bear spray, a little one. I had a huge canister. I didn't even take it. My daughter got it for me. Had a huge canister of bear spray. Started out with just a little thing of pepper spray. Sent that home. It was too hot to put on my food. It's about the only thing it was good for. There's really no need for anything like that. Just a little something to cut up food or thread, or if you should need to whittle something. Small knife is all you need. Did it again. I might take a little bit bigger knife, but that's because I'll be lightening up the load in other areas. I can afford to take a bigger knife. I just always used to having a bigger knife. That little neck knife did great. There was a few times I could have used a bigger one, but it's definitely not necessary, and you can by all means get away with the smallest knife. I half believe that's about it. So if there's anything I missed or any questions that you got, let me know. A little bit more unconventional, but
You know, I kind of got in a funk when I got home and just had stuff scattered everywhere, and just started throwing stuff away and keeping the stuff that worked and starting another pile of stuff to get rid of that didn't work. And yeah, I think I got everything for you. I As far as dry bags, I only had one dry bag, and it was a cheap Walmart one for my electronics, and I kept that inside my compactor bag, so kind of like a double protection. But even then, my phone would get moisture from just being so humid. Um, I didn't have any other dry bags. At the start, I did. I had a dry bag for my clothes. I had a dry bag for uh, certain different things, and all those bags add up. So I got rid of them all and just stuffed it in there, and it worked out a lot better. But I did get a Sea to Summit stuff bag I was using for. I would put stuff in and keep it on the outside of my pack. Well, then that thing broke, and then I just went back to the way I was using it. It worked out perfect anyway, so don't recommend using all kinds of different stuff sacks, but if it works for some people, hey, do you do you. Whatever works for you. I highly recommend that you start with the least amount of stuff and try and make that work. If you have to add a few things, do a couple shakedown hikes. You'll find out real quick when you get on trail what works and what doesn't. And like I said, I think the most overrated thing on any kind of hike would be gear. Um, there's so much of it. People are out there to make money, so they'll tell you what you should take, what you shouldn't take. Gotta have this. This will help you on your hike. Um, do what works for you and go with the least amount possible. I sent my knee braces home, didn't need them. Got home, second day I was home, a good friend of mine called up, said, let's go golfing. I went to bend over to pick up a golf ball. It's like somebody stabbed me in the knee. I'm like, what the hell is this? The only other thing that I am seeing here that I didn't talk about that I took was I did take these drops because when I started, there was a couple times it was really cold, and I couldn't filter my water, so I had to use the drops. Other than that, that's what worked for me. It worked out good. I mean, like I said, I started out with a lot of stuff, sent a lot of stuff home, sent some stuff home I shouldn't have, got it back, or bought, you know, wasn't worth sending it back, so I would buy it again. But yeah, that's about it as far as gear, which I think is highly overrated. I'm really going bare bones next time. Make it super light. Basically, you just need your sleep system. You need your food kit, your bear bag, a little first aid. Don't go nuts on it. Make sure you take some tape. Your clothes. There's not much more than that you need. When I first packed my bag, when I decided to do this through hike, I was like, I have everything. Because I did a lot of hunting, bushcraft, stuff like that. So I packed my bag and I was like, I'm ready to go now. Got on the scale, was 80 pounds. That's not happening. So I did get it down to about, I think at Springer Mountain I was at 47 pounds. And I know I was over 50 at some point, several points. And the lightest I got to was like the upper 30s. But then I got too much food again. So definitely recommend trying to do some shakedowns and see how you can make that work, of taking the least amount of food possible. For the longest time I was carrying too much water until you know, realize that there's so much water out there. You get to know how much water you need and how far it'll get to the next source. And at the most I would carry 1 liter. There was some spots I might have had to carry 1.5 liters, but you get to a point you can hike fast enough that if you need water, turn on the burners and you'll get there sooner rather than later. But the food thing for me was the biggest issue, and I think we got that dialed in now, so shouldn't be as big of a problem. That's about it. So I will not bore you with any more nonsense. If there is any questions you have, let me know. I'll try and answer them. But that's pretty much what I had. Nothing fancy, that's for sure. And if I did it again, I probably would go to a tent. And I would just take the bare bones minimum and try and make it as light as possible. And yeah, thanks for following along. Have a great day. We will be in touch. Still going to be hiking, still going to do some day hikes, section hikes. I'm sure there'll be another through hike at some point. Thoroughly enjoyed my time. It was tough, but it was a really, really good time, and we'll do it again in a second. So if you are on the fence of whether or not to do it, I highly recommend it. Anybody can do it, one foot in front of the other. That's all it is. If you have a will, there is a way. So good luck to all your hiking adventures, and hope to see you out on the trail soon. Take care and keep in touch. And above all, thanks for watching. I hope you can pick up something that helps you. I know I did a lot of research when I did my hike, and it definitely helps, but what one person does isn't going to help another person. So you got to find out what works for you. There's some stuff I did that nobody else has done, and there's a lot of stuff I've done I've picked up from other hikers. Yeah, it definitely is a helpful tool. So I hope you found something that can help you, and just wanted to let you know what worked for me. So take care, and hope you stay safe.